I'm really enjoying working with my little birdhouse, and I've blocked out the overall form, so I'm ready to start doing the Boolean operations. Booleans are a fun little workflow, but it requires us to be very critical of the geometry that we've already created, because in every sense, the geometry on one object is absolutely going to delete, intersect, or add geometry to a different object. So we gotta be careful. We gotta be mindful of this. Think of these like cookie cutters. The base of our house is like a gigantic roll of cookie dough, and we're going to take the pattern of our roof and stamp out a shape from it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty easy to make as well. So let's go ahead and get into it a little bit and see how this is going to work. Okay, so here's our current state. I got the base of my house, okay? Then I also have the roof panels that I just made a moment ago. The roof panels are using a mirror modifier to make both sides of the house, both sides of the roof, identical to one another. So let's physically fire off the Boolean operations. They're pretty easy. All these Booleans are going to exist on the house because I want to subtract content from the base of the house. When we start this process of wiring in all these Booleans, it's a good practice to begin naming our geometry. Because once we make a connection between two objects, the objects that's the cutter, that's the cookie cutter, it only has an exclusive function in that moment. It's just going to be a cookie cutter. It's not going to be visible or rendered in the final object. And you'll see that in action here in a minute. So this is just kind of a good practice. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to duplicate this object. Okay, just Shift D. Let's go back to my viewport. Shift D, right click to cancel its transformations. So I have two right now. I got roof 1 and roof 2. I'm going to call this one roof 2 is going to be cutter roof. There we go. And we're also going to have another cutter for the base. So it's good to name these things. I always put cutter in the naming convention of this object, so I'm very clear. And I know exactly the function of this object inside of the network that I've created. Okay, so with that said and done, let's start actually cutting things together. We're going to select the house base, okay, and we're going to go into our modifiers. So I've gone into my modifiers panel, and under the add modifier pull-down menu, it's right here. It's just Boolean. Let me zoom out some. Boolean. This is what it looks like. The modifier is a pretty easy one to understand. We have three different modifications, three different Boolean types. We have difference, which is just a really fancy word for subtraction. Union is going to add the geometry to one another. And intersect is only going to show the areas of the mesh where these two objects physically touch each other. So we want to subtract the roof line from the house to create that tree-shaped panel going down the front, okay? We're going to have the roof, since we duplicated our roof, we're going to have that one come back in play here in a minute. So once we select the type, subtraction, add, and intersection, that's where they're going to touch. We need to tell the computer which object to actually do the subtraction. So I'm going to use the eyedropper tool. Let's make sure that my roof 1 object is turned off. So I know that I'm only seeing the cutter roof object now. I'll go back to my main house, and with the eyedropper tool, I'm just going to click on that one. Ta-da! Wait a minute. This is wrong in every sense. I should be seeing the house at the moment. Well, this often happens when working with Booleans, and there's one little parameter that you probably want to look at when doing Boolean operations. This is entirely based on how the geometry is constructed for your roof. Under the solver options here, make sure that self-intersection is turned on. This is often the cause of a lot of problems, that our house magically comes back. We're still not seeing the cookie cutter shape of our roof. Well, that's because the cutter roof object is still visible. It doesn't automatically turn it off. If we turn the visibility of the cutter off, there it is. Dun, 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 dun. There's the new cookie cutter shape of our roof of our house, which is pretty cool. Now we have a couple challenges in here that we still need to overcome. First and foremost, we have all of this in here. I don't want that. And if you look very carefully down in here, there's a little bit of a very thin polygon. I must have messed up when I was establishing the distance between all of my roof panels, and the distance between number 2 and number 1 may have just been like a nanometer been off. So the Boolean operator is creating this thin little line. Not to worry, I have a solution for that. That's going to be pretty cool. Before we go away and start solving these problems, let's talk about what this Boolean operation is giving to us. I'm going to go back to my house and look at the modifier, because At the difference one, we're actually subtracting the roof from that shape, which is pretty cool. FYI, these are all live objects, by the way. I don't know why I would actually do this, but you certainly could just like rotate it, for example. And if we were, since this is a modifier, there's a live link between these objects, look at our Boolean now. Yeah, it's taking the current orientation. I'm just going to undo that. Let's rotate it around the y-axis. There we go. It's taking the current orientation of the cutter, and it's using that geometry to slice our mesh, which is really cool. The larger point being, you got to be careful with your cutter geometry. Since there is a live link between the cutter and the object that contains the Boolean, got to be careful. Got to be careful. You can't mess with it. Okay. All right. So this is starting to look pretty good. Let's solve the problem that we're running into now. Okay. First and foremost, we got to get rid of all of this at the top. Okay. And we also need to have a solution down here for all of this. Well, since we are good stewards of our scene, the cutter roof object was duplicated. We still have a master copy down here of the roof, and this is what we're going to see in the final model. So the roof is going to be its own object, but we are more than welcome and free to mess around with the cutter roof object to get the solution that we're after. Now, these operators are still on. I'm going to go into edit mode. And I'm going to make a couple small little adjustments to the geometry on the outside of my roof. Check this out. Notice that I'm selecting this guy, the outside polygons. I'm not selecting the entire part, just that outside polygon. I've also changed my transform pivot point to normal, and I want to make sure that my transform orientation is set to normal, and then my transform pivot point is set to active object. And here's what I'm going to do to solve my problem. I'm going to grow the width of all of these panels just by some arbitrary amount. Something like that. Just going to make them big. And what this is going to do, it's going to fix that thin line problem, but it's also going to delete that top half of my model. I just want to make sure that I kind of cover up, if you will, all of the geometry that I don't want to have. Hit the tab key, go back into object mode, turn off the visibility of my cutter object, and there it is. Wonderful, huh? Okay, two more things that we need to do, because we need to create both the opening for like the walls, if you will, of the house, and then that spherical opening for the bird to go into. Well, let's do the easy one first. Actually, they're both real easy. We're going to use the duplicate object, or the house base that's unsubdivided to create, or unbooleaned, excuse me, to create the walls of our object with another Boolean. So I'm going to go back into object mode and duplicate my house base. Let's right click on it. Now, immediately, since this is a duplicate, I want to get rid of the Boolean modifier because I want to use this shape to influence, to subtract the wall thickness on my birdhouse. Let's go into object mode, or edit mode, excuse me. Select all of my polygons, and I'm going to scale it down. And now, my brain is visually looking at that little wall thickness down there. Since we're scaling it, yeah, something like that. I'm pretty happy with that. That looks pretty good. An appropriate thickness for my walls. I'm happy with that. Now we're going to go back into object mode, and we're going to add a second Boolean to house base. So let's name this real fast. This is going to be a cutter. This is going to be house inside. Okay. And on house base, we're going to add in a second Boolean. Let's do this. Let's do Boolean roof. We'll name our modifier so we're aware of what they're going with. We're going to add in a second one, Boolean. This is going to be Boolean inside. And as one might imagine, we're going to choose the object, the eyedropper. Let's turn the visibility of that object off, and voila, there it is. Pretty cool, huh? All right, one more to go, and this is going to be an easy one. We're going to add in just a new cylinder. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees along the x-axis. Let's put it in a spot here, because I want a little space for my bird to come in and out of. Somewhere right around there. Sure, why not? And as one might imagine, here we go. We're going to add a third Boolean into the mix. This is going to be Boolean. This is the kind of door, if you will, from our bird. Let's select the object. Turn the visibility of that cylinder off. And there it is. If we turn our roof back on, we now have a near finished little birdhouse that was constructed almost entirely using Booleans.